pretty instantly you could hear like shuffling. Like you could hear someone walking from room to room. And it was like multiple times they would just say like, hey, if you're here, can you make those things go off? And just like multiple times these things would just light up right in front of them. Before we went into the basement, they pointed out, they're like, hey, there's bats. If you see one, don't shine a flashlight at it. Nothing's really happening. And then something touches my arm. And I look into my dad's office and that CD burner turns on. And then like 30 seconds later, once again, getting goosebumps, and it shuts off and it just says goodbye. I said, hey man, there's a bat there. Don't shine your flashlight on it. So he shines his flashlight on it and the bat takes off at all of us. And yeah, that was my story about that kid.
One of the things I wanted to do with Paranormal Unsettled is not just talk to the big and well-known names in the paranormal field. I also wanted to sit down with investigators, researchers, and even friends who have spent time exploring haunted places and have stories worth telling. Today's guest is someone I've known for years through the pro wrestling world, Matt Stein, drummer for Drown the Lifeguard. Matt recently was able to investigate the infamous Sheboygan County Asylum, which opened in June of 1876 to house the insane who were previously either in the state hospital or the jail. We're going to dive into what he experienced inside the asylum, the moments that caught him off guard, and how the investigation changed the way he looked at the paranormal. We also dive into some of his other experiences with the unexplained and what it's like balancing life as a musician with a fascination for the unknown. So dim the lights, lock the doors, and let's get unsettled. See, this is always the awkward part. Like, how do I say, like, all right, everybody, without sounding like a total dweeb?
That was always the worst part about doing podcasts was like, how do you start them and sound natural? So I completely understand. That's why I prefer being on this side of it. This is now your lead-in. So
this is the lead-in.
Yeah.
We're talking about podcasts. What's up, everybody? I'm here with Matt Stein. We'll say drummer of Drown the Lifeguard. I made your logo once. You forgot I made the logo. You asked for me to make it again a couple of years later, 2 years later. I don't remember. But we still never got that logo done. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you? Yeah. I mean, that's not a false story. Yeah. We'll just leave it at that.
I know Matt because unfortunately we're both friends with WWE legend Hornswoggle, aka Swoggle, and it, brought us here together. So we're going to talk about the paranormal. We're going to talk about drumming in a band. We're going to talk about everything in between, whatever we want to talk about. My goal when starting this little interview series that I'm doing is to not bring in, the big people, like the big paranormal investigators, the people know. Like, I want to talk to my friends. You've had experiences. My other friends have had experiences. I want to know about those because those I feel like they're legit. Like, you had your experiences. Nobody can take those away from you. So what's up? Who are you? Tell everybody who you are. Give us the elevator pitch.
Yeah. So as Clash said, Matt Stein, I guess the biggest thing is I play drums in a band from Milwaukee called Drown the Lifeguard. We're a hardcore band, I guess is the easiest way to describe it to those who don't understand the genre of music. In addition, I'm also one of the suits for ACW Wisconsin, which is how I met Clash. I also have a wife and 3 dogs. I have a problem with free time. I do play in a second band that we're working on recording a CD called 22 Minutes, which is the polar opposite. It's an indie rock band. On top of that, I do have a full-time job. I have friends. Yeah.
Questionable.
But yeah, I don't know. I have people that talk to me, that probably just use me for stuff, but
People we don't admit are our friends. Yeah.
yeah, I really like doing a lot of things because I know that someday I'm not going to be able to do it. So my mantra with life is I want to do it. I'd rather regret doing too much than not doing enough.
I 100% agree with that. I think that's the reason why I'm doing this to begin with. It was something, this is out of the normal. This is paranormal for me. This is out of the normal. I explained it to Tim Nealon, who I had on last week, because he's he's fully in the paranormal world. I came from the pro wrestling world where we say there's the proverbial wrestling closet. Like, when did you come out of the wrestling closet? Like, when did you admit to people you liked wrestling? Like, this year is me telling everybody, hey, I've been into the paranormal for a really long time, and I'm going to scream it loud and proud because this is what I'm doing now. So
it's like the polar opposite for me. So I obviously watched wrestling as a kid, and then I don't even remember what year it was, but when WWE Network is a thing, I saw it was $10. My wife and I were like, well, we have nothing to do. It's WrestleMania. Let's watch it. And then I started going to ACW Wisconsin shows because it was cheap and in my area. And then the pandemic hit, and they needed someone who was good with computers. And then that's how I started working with them. And now I run the company with Swaddle. Like, it is the weirdest thing. I went from being a drunk idiot in the crowd to running the company. So now I'm just a drunk idiot who runs the company.
With another drunk idiot.
With another drunk idiot. But so I guess the paranormal thing has always, like, I've always been fascinated with paranormal. And my background from that is it kind of stems going back to, I was in a band called Sky and the Execution back in 2006. Our manager at the time was this guy named Chad Kalick. And if you ever watched the show Paranormal State, you may remember seeing a large fella named Chad Kalick. Yes, that I kind of had ties into that. And then
we'll talk off air later about
100%.
State and what's going on right now.
100%. But where I'm actually going with this whole thing is, so Chad also worked with a band called Index Case. Their singer Joe and I are still pretty good friends to this date. And Joe and Chad used to do a lot of investigations and things like that. So, like, I've talked to Joe extensively, who does not believe in any sort of paranormal. And he has probably one of the best quotes I've ever heard. And I've told you this, and he just goes, I don't believe in ghosts, but I've seen evil. And I'm like, that's like such a wild thing to say, because you've been, he's been to Waverly Hills, and he's been to a lot of like castles and shit over in Europe. And to say that, like, to be amongst all these spirits and to still say that I don't believe in the paranormal, but I've seen evil, like, that's just such a wild statement.
That's one of my favorite quotes from Carolyn Perrin, who is famous from the actual story of The Conjuring. Fear the living, not the dead. Mm-hmm. And after all she went through, I think, I think that's...
Wasn't there a serial killer who had a similar saying? It was like, it's not the living you have to worry, or it's not the dead you have to worry about, it's the living.
Probably.
Yeah.
I'm not brushed up on my serial killers. I do have one that lives 2 blocks away from me.
I was going to say, I mean, I live in
We'll talk about that another time. But yeah, you recently went to Sheboygan County. Am I saying that right?
Sheboygan County,
like a real Long Islander. Sheboygan?
Yeah, you got to put a little more Canadian accent into it. Sheboygan. But
Sheboygan County Asylum. So I knew nothing about this place. I've heard of Sheboygan. The asylum itself, I tried to do some research. There's some small documentaries. There's some things, but what I did come across was Project Fear back when they were on Travel Channel, I believe it is. They went there. So I watched that episode today. That was pretty cool. Kind of gave me, I was able to feel like when you tell me things, I'm going to know where you're talking about, possibly.
Yeah.
But it was interesting that it only closed in 1940 and was demolished in 1960, and then whatever remains.
That's not true.
No, that's not true.
So that was a second building. So it didn't close until 2006.
Ooh,
and there's still a person living there.
That was not long ago.
Yeah. So when so I lived in Sheboygan until 2010. And so it's technically in Waldo, which is like, it's not even, I wouldn't even call it a suburb. It is like the boonies of Sheboygan. It's about a half an hour from where my parents still live to this day. I never really realized this place was there until after I moved out, obviously. So to go back was kind of like a wild trip. And then to learn that it was still operational until I graduated high school in 2004. So it was still operational until I was out of high school.
Only 2 years before me.
Yeah, shut up. So it's like, to not even know that it's there and what it was functional for, and to live there, and then to realize like what actually had gone on, is such a strange kind of thing when you circle back. But Sheboygan, if you're not familiar with the state of Wisconsin, Sheboygan resides right on the Lake Michigan, halfway between Milwaukee and Green Bay. There's not a whole lot to do there as an adult, well, as a teenager either, unless you want to work in manufacturing. So as a child, your goal is to get out. If you don't get out, you're stuck there forever. So I got out. I only go back to see my parents.
I thought you were going to say your goal as a child is to work in the factory. I'm like, oh, do they have child labor laws in Wisconsin?
Nope. You could work at Bemis, which makes toilet seats, or Kohler, which makes faucets.
I think I have both of those.
Yep. I went to grade school with one of the Bemis kids, and he tried to stab me with a pencil.
Oh.
And then he shit his pants. True story.
Back to the serial killers.
Yeah, right. Wisconsin.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool. I saw they also do like haunted houses, which seems like one of the best places you could go for a haunted house. And I think one was clowns, like a big clown.
Yeah, so I think this is the second year that they did it, second or third year. And I'm gonna say that they ripped off a different. So there's a smaller town called St. Nazianz, which is north of Sheboygan, that had a rectory that was super, super haunted. And they did a haunted house many, many years ago. When I was in high school, we would go. That building has been since condemned. They never did like ghost investigations or anything there. But that was always like the thing to do when you're in high school, is to go to their haunt. And then I think 2 or 3 years ago was the first year that the asylum did an actual haunt. I don't think they did it last year, and then they're doing it again this year because it screws up the investigations to do. Plus, like in October, everyone wants to go. So
yeah, of course.
That's why we decided to go in July. Also coincides with my wife's birthday, but and I don't know if they necessarily explained well where in the building that takes place. I don't think it's like the actual, like the most active locations, but they did say during our tour that some of the actors experience, getting touched and scratched and things like that.
All right. Well, good lead in. What'd you experience? What'd you do? Take us through the entire, from start to finish. Where'd you go? Did you go in the tunnels? Did you hear any voices?
Yeah. So we went January 11th. So my wife turned 40 on the 10th. So the 11th that's the way we went. So you have two options. You can go from 7 to 10 p.m. or 11 to 2 a.m. We did the 11 to 2 because I was like, hey, it's July. If we go from 7 to 10, it will be light out for the majority of it.
That's true.
Come to learn that it's sometimes more active during the light than it is during dark. Obviously we got there and it's already dark. You meet in like the front room, and this has nothing to do with anything, but it's very weird because it's just full of random shit. So there was like empty fish tanks and mixer stands with no bowls all over the floor. And then there's just like a bunch of chairs for you to sit down. So we later found out that they've had groups like as large as 60 people, which is insane. Like I would never want to do that. We had 8 and then 2 tour guides, so there's 10 total people. So run through rules or whatever, and then they took us up to the 3rd floor because they're like it was 90 degrees that day, so they're like it's going to be really hot, so we're going to get the 3rd floor out of the way. So we go up there and then they set up, there was a string of trip lights, which if you're not familiar with that is, obviously it's a string of lights that glow purple. And then when EMF goes over it, it'll change colors. They had, there was a music box. They set up a bell also. They had a spirit box. And then they also had like an Ovilus. They didn't really
had all the modern stuff.
Yeah, they didn't really pull out an EMF detector. Which was really surprising to me. You could bring your own stuff. So there was a guy that was on the tour that said brought like his own REM pod. He didn't pull it out till later. I got a story about him later. But
okay.
Yeah, so right away on the 3rd floor, like they set up all this stuff and like, all right, everyone just kind of like be quiet. It was like, the if you make a sound, let everyone know that that's you kind of thing. So, everyone stops and we're all really still, and it was like pretty instantly you could hear like shuffling, like you could hear someone walking from room to room down the hall, clearly not us, and then you'd hear banging coming from a different direction, and then we'd start to ask questions, and then the music box went off a lot. And then,
how many people were in your group?
There was eight people on the tour and then 2 guides.
That's not that bad.
No. So the 2 tour guides kind of said like, it's pretty often that they just really like the sound of the music box. So a lot of times they'll just stand by it. So they'd have to go reset it a bunch of times. But you would do there isn't like a predetermined length of the investigation. So we did based on the amount of activity we got. So I want to say we were up there for like 45 minutes, and it like went in a blink of an eye. It was wild how quick this thing went. We did about 25 minutes of like, asking questions and stuff going off. And then they're like, all right, just wander around. And, we just took pictures with our cell phones in hopes of getting something. The trip lights went off once, like 1 or 2 lights turned blue, which I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But later on, there a whole lot more happened. So that's kind of why I want to mention that. But from the 3rd floor, we went down to the nurses' ward, which is where all the nurses lived when it was active. And this is where shit got wild. So if you're familiar with this area, it's maybe a 20-foot long hallway, and it's got, I want to say there was like 12 rooms. So we're all just kind of sitting in the hall. The trip lights are set up, and then they set up the bell. So the bell did not get touched upstairs. And the one of the tour guides mentioned that she's never had the bell go off ever. So the bell is towards the front of the hall, and we're towards the back half. And in the back half is the room where there was a lot of offerings were given. So I think there was like some puzzles were brought, like whatever was asked for, they had brought. And this was towards our end. And as we're sitting there, they started asking questions or whatever, and the trip lights just all lit up blue. And it was like multiple times they would just say like, hey, if you're here, can you make those things go off? And it was like multiple times these things would just light up right in front of us. Dude, it was wild. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it again.
It's such like a surreal, like, holy shit, this is actually happening.
Yes. Yeah. And, you'd hear a lot of noises. And then they started asking questions, and that's when the bell was going off. And it was like, oh, hey, were you a nurse here when this was when? And it's like, that's when shit got real.
That's what I was going to ask. Did they give you any lead in as to who you might encounter, or did they just kind of leave that to you?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There was, and this is where my 20s come into play, because I, drinking and drugs, so the memory's not ideal. But there was like 3 or 4 specifically named spirits that they talked about, and like, those were the ones that they said like, oh, it was like, I think it was like Tom was in the basement or some shit, and it was like a specific nurse. So they would call them by name and say like, oh, is this so-and-so? Is this so-and-so? And you'd kind of get some sort of response, but nothing like definitive. There was one time we got a spirit box response, and I want to say it was up on the 3rd floor, and it was like, how many of you are here? And it came back with 4. And it was like a very clear response, in a timely fashion. Otherwise, the spirit box was really not, it's not what I hoped for. And that's like, if you've never been in an area where a spirit box is being used, it's not like they kind of portray it on TV. You're really grasping at straws, because if I'm sure most people that are listening are familiar with what it is, but it's just scanning radio stations. So it's just pulling bits and pieces, and you're just hoping that it's going to give you the answer that you want. And I think a lot of times what we do as people that are hoping for something, you're just kind of like, oh, I heard that. Like, that's what I want to hear.
Right.
Same thing with a lot of
tells you heard it. How many times on TV, or well, I should say YouTube, not TV, are they doing? And they're like, oh, that's Taylor Swift. It's like, you're grasping at straws here,
Yep. A lot of times when I hear EVPs on TV, I try not to read the subtitle and try to pick it up before they say anything. And it's like, maybe.
I have a theory about spirit boxes. I have a video I'm going to do eventually, but
hell yeah,
they're so easy to manipulate. Like, do you remember back, I mean, you graduated 2 years before me. You probably had a thing in your car that would transmit an iPod or a CD player to the speaker.
Yep.
That's a $20 piece on Amazon right now. All you need is that to play through the airwaves. You go next to it with a spirit box.
Same thing.
And voila.
Yeah.
You could put whatever you want through the airwaves.
Yep. Yeah, I'm now getting ads for these special like REM pods and spirit boxes that don't let radio waves like mess with them. I'm like, okay. But whatever. So
my REM pod is literally this big, and it has a blue light, and that's it.
Yeah, that's all it needs. It's like all you need to do is pick up if there's energy there. But So the after the nurses ward, you take a short break, because after that you go into the basement. So like you go obviously top down. We got to pee in a urinal. My wife pointed out that everyone could hear me, and I'm like, I don't know what you want from me. It's just a funny story about what happened to me. So in the basement is
It's like, wow, very impressive.
well, I'm holding it in, and like I don't, it's just fine. I don't care. I don't hold a lot of shame.
Where does that flush out? I don't know. You
We were in the middle of nowhere. But there's so we went to the boiler room. We went to the boiler room first. So the boiler room was special. So my therapist has also done the tour there, and she told me she got touched in the boiler room by the ladder. So she's like, you'll know it when you see it. So as soon as we went in there, and I did not anticipate this boiler room being as big as it is. Like, it is a old school boiler room. The thing is like the size of, like, imagine a school cafeteria, about, the same height, same size, just
Oh,
big
wow.
brick room.
Yeah, I just looked it up.
The thing is huge.
It's tall, and I
It's-
see the ladder.
Massive, yes. So the first thing I did is I ran over by this ladder and I just kind of like waited, and then nothing happened. But still, no
You mean
pig.
the ladder that's right under the broken windows and the pipes?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
yeah. So just kind of went over there and stood, and nothing touched me, nothing fun happened. But I did miss one thing. Before we went into the basement, they pointed out, they're like, hey, there's bats. If you see one, don't shine a flashlight at it. And that leads into the story about the guy, and we'll get there when we get there. Okay, so you go to the boiler room. After the boiler room, we went to the tunnels. The tunnels is where they saw the Shadow Man from Destination Fear. So they get to
You're right. They took a picture in there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So they kind of got to like the cross, like where the tunnels kind of meet. You can kind of go different directions, and that's where we did our investigation there. And they had like bottles of booze and stuff, and nothing happened. Not like we didn't see anything. Nothing interacted with us, which was a huge disappointment, because I think everyone was really hopeful that the tunnels was where shit was going to pop off.
You know what? In a way, like, it's disappointing because you wanted that experience, but in a way, it's also, I guess, for me, I would be like, okay, they're like nothing. They're not doing anything to make activity happen here.
No, and it started so hot too, that it was kind of like, all right, like, but to your point, it's proof that they can't control anything.
Right. I like that.
Yes. And it really did leave me like we left, and I was like, yeah, we're doing this again. And it made me want to go back and do the 7 and the 11. Like, I'll just go for the entire night. I don't really care. Like, there's just so much more to do in this place. So I think we were in the tunnels for it was like 15 minutes, and then we went to the morgue. And that's the morgue is wild, because if you've never seen their morgue, it's not the morgue that you're thinking of. And I know you're looking at a picture of it right now.
No, I'm looking to see how long it would take me to get there
Oh,
if you were to go back.
oh, touche. The morgue is literally a 10 by 6
16 hours
room.
driving.
That's not that bad. You just get on a plane. And if you flew into Milwaukee, it's an hour drive from Milwaukee to Sheboygan.
Oh.
It's not bad. No. But the morgue is like a 10 by 6 cinder block room. It's not like the morgue you think of with like the pull-out shelves and any of that. It is just a brick room, and they took the table out. But we walk in, and there's a bat on the wall. And the kid that I'm talking about, I said, hey, man, there's a bat there. Don't shine your flashlight on it. So he shines his flashlight on it, and the bat takes off at all of us. And yeah, that was my story about that kid.
There's always one.
Yeah. So then they close the door to the morgue, and we're just standing in pitch black, and nothing's really happening. And then something touches my arm. And then I looked over at my wife, or I lean over at my wife because I can't see, and I said, hey, something just touched me. And she goes, it's probably a bug. I'm like, I don't know about that, because I did like the whole wipe, and then I felt nothing after that. It literally felt like a bug just kind of hit me on the arm. It was like a little tickle, and that's why I was like, well, if it was a bug, I should feel more. Like, it shouldn't have just been like a one and done.
Yeah.
So it's just like
a little bit.
Yeah, I just kind of wiped it off, and then that was it. And then I just kind of it could have been a bug. It could have been. I'm like, in my head, I would like to believe a spirit touched me. Maybe I'm leaning myself in the direction that happened, but no matter what, it made me want to go back. And I think that's kind of, that's the moral of that story. But after the morgues, there's a big day room on the way out where they said that the patients would, when their family would come visit, they would kind of use that room, and it could kind of be sectioned off. So we kind of just meandered around in there, didn't really do any investigation, took some pictures. From there, we went to the shops area, which all had like weird names, but it had like there was like a laundromat and a store. It was a cantina. It was like the Mexican cantina, like the Japanese laundry. It was everything had like a country attached to it. And it was the worst smell I've ever smelled in my life. It smelled like someone, like
And you know Swoggle.
I do, yeah.
So that must be, yeah.
I've smelt some smells. But it's like someone took a toilet off and never capped the hole, and it was like that raw sewage smell. The whole area stunk.
Those Bemis boys coming back at you.
right. But yeah, then once again, like nothing really happened in there, and then we just kind of like finished up in there, and then that was the end. But it's just such a wild building, because the other thing you have to keep in mind is like the tour guides made a point. They're like, this building exists to keep people inside. They're like, if you get lost, no one's gonna find you till Monday. And that was when they pointed out, they're like, a guy lives here 5 days a week essentially, and he just isn't here on the weekends because we do these investigations. He doesn't want to get in the way. But any door to the outside you would find is electronically locked and bungee corded shut. All from the inside.
What is he, like, that's his home, or is he a caretaker?
He's like a caretaker.
Okay.
But there was a guy who grew up there. I can't think of his name, but he's a famous chef that moved to California now.
Fieri.
I wish. We can get into that about how he doesn't really chew and swallow his food in his TV shows, but
what?
I'll start sending you those reels now. But they brought his name up at one point, and activity ramped up quite a bit. So it was like the spirits recognized that name because he was born there and then moved out when he was like in his 20s, I think they said. And he went back for an investigation once, and I guess like shit popped off pretty hard while he was there too. I think they said that there's video of it, but it's proof that someone familiar with the property going back creates a reaction. And I guess that's just like for naysayers or people that aren't entirely sure, it's just more proof that something happened. Like there's something there.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's really hard to deny.
So pretty much this was where they put people from overcrowded hospitals and jails.
Mm-hmm.
And I even saw, I think, prisoners of war from World War II, German and Italians.
Yeah, so that was the building that you saw that they shut down. That's where they were at, in that building.
Okay.
And then when that all got closed up, that stopped, because obviously Wisconsin's a huge German, Polish, and even, there's Sheboygan's a huge Hmong population too. So that's a lot of World War II. Everyone kind of flocked to the Wisconsin and that area. So there's a lot of folklore about those nationalities in the area.
And a ton of fires.
Yeah.
A watchman was killed in 1892. 4 others killed in 1878. So a lot of stuff happened here. And then it was knocked down in 1940 and rebuilt, and then closed in 2002. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how much of it was rebuilt. I think it was a section. I don't know the full backstory. They didn't do like a ton of the lore of the building. It was only in downtimes that they kind of, because
that's what I like. I like the history. I want to know. I get why they wouldn't tell you, because they want you to experience stuff on your own. So I guess that's probably another tour. I would assume that places do, but I want to know everything about this place.
Well, and to the credit of the tour guides, they're like in downtimes, that's when they would tell you stuff. So when there was an activity happening, that's when they would kind of start to tell you about what's going on. When there was activity, they would remain quiet and continue with the investigation. So I give them credit there. But then that's also another reason to go back. It's like you can learn more when there's not a whole lot going on. There's also different tour guides. It's not the same 2 people every time. So you're going to get a different experience with different people too. And it was only $60.
Sounds like a place I want to go.
It was only $60 a person.
Oh, see,
so
that's
cheap.
what we need to get back to. We not the $1,200 for an overnight and all that BS. No.
But that's the other thing I told you. So the same company owns that sanctuary in Berlin, Wisconsin, the one I was trying to tell you about, where it's like we can do a 21-hour investigation for 8 people for $600. Like that's
not bad either.
No, that's unreal. Like,
yeah,
we'd sleep there all night. We could have
Let's
campfire
go.
songs. I'm down.
Let's
Like, you
go.
gotta let your wife leave the house.
I'll bring the guitar and we'll play some songs all night
Let's sing some Kumbaya.
around a fire. Yeah, play some Kumbaya and something's in the way and yeah, all that stuff.
I'm on board.
So what other places have you been?
So the only other haunted location we went to, it was a hotel in Florida, and I don't remember the name of the hotel. It was like we were down in Orlando for it was right when The Simpsons opened up at Universal Studios, and then we went to
Rest in peace.
yeah, right. And then we did the Halloween Horror Nights. And we're just like, hey, we can do this thing. So the reason I wanted to talk about this one was let me tell a previous story first, because this one kind of feeds into this. So as I mentioned, when I was in high school, my best friend died in a car accident. Excuse me. It was a couple years after, but my best friend from high school died in a car accident. It was May of 2005. So the night of his wake, my parents' house, the upstairs, you walk up the steps, you go down a hall. My bedroom is at the end of the hall to the left. If you go straight, it's a bathroom. To the right was my dad's office, so it's like a T. There's no windows in my dad's office, so it's pitch black. But my dad was like, he would burn CDs without a computer. Like, he was like one of the first. So he had a stack of like stereo equipment. So it was like a receiver, a tape deck, his CD burner, and then there was like another piece of equipment there. The CD burner would not get a signal without one of the other, like the receiver and the tape deck or a CD player would have to also be on. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the night of Nate's wake, I'm standing in the middle of those three rooms, and I'm just about to go take a shower. I'm just kind of standing there, like digesting what is happening. And I look into my dad's office, and that CD burner turns on, and it starts picking up audio. And then like 30 seconds later, once again, getting goosebumps, and it shuts off and it just says goodbye. 30 seconds later, my phone rings and it's Nate's cell phone calling me.
All right, now you got me having chills.
Yep. Now, the reason I told that story to go into this Florida story.
Did you answer?
Yeah. It was his mom calling me from his phone, not thinking about the fact that it was.
Okay, I mean, still though.
Yeah. There was legitimate reason there, but like.
Yeah, I mean, but things work that way.
Yeah. So I wanted to leave it on a cliffhanger. You ruined it.
I could cut it.
No, I don't care. It's funnier this way.
I'm not cutting any of this.
Everyone's gonna want to know what happened, so just leave it in. So we're at this thing in Florida, and it's just my wife and I, and it was another couple, and then like one tour guide. So it's a very small tour. And you started out, and it was like a conference room, and we were given just EMF detectors, and then they're like, just take pictures, just do whatever, we just kind of went around. But we sat and kind of shared previous experiences where I told that story. And while I was telling the story, the EMF detector went up to 5, and the other couple took a picture of me, and there's an orb flying over my head. I don't have the picture. The other couple showed it to me, and she never sent it to me.
Wow.
I know, I was super upset I don't have it. This was 2012 or 13, so this is quite a bit ago. So, which is wild, because when you put those two pieces together, and to think about the fact that like my best friend died at 21 in a car accident due to malfunction in his car. Like it was just a freak accident. Like it wasn't anything. It was nothing he could do. And then to think about the fact that like obviously I didn't get to say goodbye to him. So then this stereo turns on and seemingly says goodbye on his behalf. And then I'm telling a story to two strangers, and then there's an orb over my head and an EMF detector. So it's comforting nonetheless, even if it's not real. So then we're doing the investigation, which is just on the upstairs of this. It's like a storage area of the highest story of this hotel. The weird part about this whole thing is there's like an EDM festival going on outside of this hotel. So the whole time we're like inside, like, are you a friendly spirit? You're just like, yes, exactly. And it's like, well, this kind of takes you out of it. But we would do the whole trick with the flashlights, the screw flashlights, where you get them like just close enough, and then you'd ask questions. They would turn on and off, and I shit you not, like it worked flawlessly.
Yeah,
like we would, there was one time where it was like
that gets debunked a lot.
It does.
It also freakishly works so well so many times.
Yeah. The one I truly remember is, we were asking a question. It's like, do you want us to leave? And the thing turned on instantly, and we're like, all right, let's move on. There was another time where we were taking pictures, and I'm upset when I got rid of my Android phone. I lost this picture when I became an adult. But it was we were trying to find out more about the spirit, and it was, are you a child? And the flashlight turned on, and I got a picture of what appeared to be a child sitting in front of a box.
No way.
And I showed so many people this picture, and they all saw it too. And I was so pissed I lost this picture. But yeah, you can see it plain as day. It was like a kid looking at me sitting in front of the box with his hands on it.
Wow, that was taken with your cell phone.
Yes.
See, that's the biggest thing I feel like we may have lost somewhere along the way, is now everything's so digital that maybe, back in the day, there was a little more analog to it. We maybe would have captured something a little better.
Well, and that kind of feeds into another thing. And it's like, why are only spirits from like the 1800s, 1700s? Like, why aren't we getting newer spirits seemingly?
There's no one walking around with a Walkman and UFO pants and
Right. When are we going to see a spirit in Jinkos?
right.
With a backwards red baseball hat listening to break stuff.
That's oddly specific.
That's going to be me.
Yeah.
Not my own Jinkos. I never wore them.
I mean, those are some pretty damn good experiences right there. I shared on the last interview I did, and I posted this on my socials also. When I was in Gettysburg, we did just a walking tour. They gave you the rundown and all that. They said, all right, point your camera in this window here and see if you get anything. So at the same time, everybody goes, click, takes their picture. At the same time, everybody turns around and goes, 3 people right there. What the tour guide didn't know was another tour was inside that building, looking back at us at the exact same time.
Huh.
So yeah, what everybody thought was a really cool moment ended up just being a really big letdown, because other than that, all we had was dowsing rods, and I don't really think those are much of anything. So
yeah,
it's cool to use, but
yeah. I mean, it's like you can watch videos and do all this stuff till you're blue in the face, but I think you really got to kind of do it yourself. And like a lot of people, when we got back from the asylum, were like, the first question is, was it scary? I'm like, dude, it's really hard to be scared when there's 10 people standing around nearby. And they're the tour guides were very kind about it. They're like, if at any point you're scared, just say something, we'll walk you out. Like I said, there is 10 people standing nearby. It's really difficult to get scared about anything when there's...
And your eyes adjust.
Yeah.
That's another thing. One of the biggest, I guess, lore about ghost hunting. Are you afraid of ghosts, or are you afraid of the dark?
Right.
Some people are just afraid of the dark, and that just adds to everything.
What is a ghost really going to do to you? Like, if you've heard of getting scratched, you've only ever seen a ghost murder someone in a movie.
Unless we're talking about the Bell Witch, and I think that's been debunked as well. But yeah.
See? You debunked yourself.
But yeah, thank you for walking us through the tour. But how cool would it be? Let's circle back now to playing in a band, playing music.
Yeah.
Doing a show at the asylum. Like Waverly Hills used to hold festivals.
Yeah, dude. No, I'd be I would put that under bucket list shit. Like, and I don't know when you have this coming out, so this might be a past tense thing, but like
Couple weeks.
2 weeks. Okay, so we have a song coming out in a horror movie. Comes out on August 11th. The movie's called The Boy from Below. And like, horror is my jam. Like, that's what we did in high school. We would rent horror movies on Friday nights and go watch them in my parents' basement. That's what I would do, because otherwise I would get in trouble. Like, when I got an underage drinking, that was how I stayed out of trouble, was to go watch horror movies with the new friends that I didn't get in trouble with. So that's ultimately what I did. So for my music to be in a movie is bucket list shit.
That's
so
amazing.
It's like to then take my music and to do something in terms of paranormal is like, it'd be a bucket list item. Because we had talked about, was that Sounds of the Underground?
Yep.
That played Waverly Hills. Yeah. So like, that'd be so incredible to do something like that. And even to do, like, there's it's near Wausau. It's actually a town called Ringel, but it's an old Catholic grade school that they hollowed out, and now it's a music venue. And like the stage is on the it's on the where the pulpit was in the church. So like the backdrop is all stained glass. I'm like, even that would be really cool
awesome.
as shit. Like, and it's funny because like I saw cattle decapitation and suffocation play there. Like that would
be poetic about that.
right. Like that would be such a cool place to play too, just because of that, and all the years I spent in Catholic schools. But to your question, like if the Asylum did a show, like that's something I would go to great lengths to play on, just because of what it is and because of my ties to Sheboygan too.
And that's also something, I mean, maybe you could do, maybe
Yeah.
you could make the show happen. Like my wheels have been, see, I'm a daydreamer. I could go on an entire car ride to and from work, no music on, no podcast on, nothing. And I'm just thinking about, I probably did it today, probably thinking about what I'm going to talk to you about. But the Conjuring house, it's going to be open, I hope fairly soon. Things are going to get sorted with that situation. It's only 2-3 hours away. And I'm like, what if we had a wrestling show on the front lawn?
Why not?
Why not? Why not this place? I think at a certain point, maybe that gets like a little disrespectful if there's, say something in that area. But I really think stuff like that's cool. Like when I was researching Waverly Hills and I saw they had the sounds of the underground, we need more of this. That church sounds awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I think utilizing historic buildings for other things, I agree. I understand what you're saying in terms of it being disrespectful, but I think if you do it in a way, it can be seen as a respectful thing.
Yeah.
Like you're doing it in a way to honor what happened there, as opposed to being, you know what I'm saying? Like if you watch the movie Jason X comes to mind, where they have like the party in the cornfield and they're, being debaucherous. It's like if you're doing it that way, that's one thing. But if you do, the Conjuring house, and it's to respect what happened at that house as opposed to just, a party. Two different things.
I'm not saying it would ever happen, but that's what my brain daydreams about. Back in high school, we had a church also that's who hosted shows. It was the last Friday, I think, of every month. It was $5 to get in, and it was all just local bands from 3 p.m., like the second school was out, until 11 o'clock at night. And everybody knew each other, and eventually it was getting, it was coming to an end. It was going to close because things got a little rowdy, moshing and whatever.
Oh, yeah.
The last night, they were like, okay, this is the last night, so everyone behave and make sure maybe we could squeeze out a few more shows. And that's when the stink bombs came out in that small little church basement, and that was the end of that. But some of those people are still my good friends to this day. So, you just come together, and you never know. Like, it's a church behind a Burger King on some random road in the basement. And it was ran by a guy who looked like Kurt Cobain, but he was like 2 years older than me, and it was just great. $5, and you just saw bands the entire night. And the key was you pay the $5, but then when you left, there was a long line to get back in. You just carry someone's amp and you get right back in. You make friends with the guys, you bring it out, you bring it back in, you just walk in with a cable, you're good.
Yep. Oh man. It's funny you talk about making friends through music. There's the first time I ever went on tour, we played Lawrence, Kansas was like the third night, and we played at the Bottleneck with a band called Truth Cell. The singer of Truth Cell he let us stay at his apartment. So James knew Matt was the guitar player from the band I was playing in. I didn't want to sleep on the floor, so I just decided I was going to sleep in James's bed with him. Mind you, I just met this guy. And then that stemmed our friendship. I was in James's wedding. James was in my wedding. We still talk almost I'd say once a week at the very least. But to think about, when I was 19 years old, I'm going to sleep in this guy's bed because I don't want to sleep on the floor, because I've yet to understand what it means to be spending this much time in a van with smelly dudes. And then, now I'm 40 and this guy is one of my best friends. And I flew down to Kansas during a pandemic just to see him for his 40th birthday. You know, like to think that was the future as a result of music and shit like that. So, yeah, it's crazy what happens with situations like that.
You never know. You never know.
Right?
We never thought we'd be here right now.
True.
That's true. All right. I have one last and final question for you, and it might be the hardest one.
Okay.
If you had to delete all but 3 apps from your phone, what are you keeping? And I'm not talking about calculator and the stuff that comes with the phone. What 3 apps can you not live without?
All right, let me look at this. What can I not live without? Well, probably one of my weather apps.
That's the last interview with Tim Nealon. He said the same thing.
We're
old. We love weather.
I do. I really love the weather. And if you were paying any attention, a massive tornado just came through not far from where I live.
Wow.
Which, did I send you the video of the wind that we had at my house?
No, we had a tornado warning also last week, and my wife sent me out to get something from Facebook Market in it because can't live without it.
Okay. Okay.
It never happened.
I mean,
the tornado never happened.
Well, so it's funny because a guy from Facebook Marketplace was supposed to come over and pick up. Wanted to come look at some chests that my wife was selling. He was supposed to come over at 12:15. The tornado touched down at like 11:50 in Appleton, and he was coming from Appleton. And I looked at my wife and said, "I think he's going to be late."
Yeah,
he was late. Yeah, because the thing went straight through Appleton, through Menasha, and just cut Menasha in half. Yeah, dude, it's pretty wild. But yeah, so one of my weather apps, I have 2 because that's the type of person I am. Man, probably my camera app because it lets me know when people are at my house because we live in the country.
Fair.
And then my Quick Trip app because I use it so I know what gas prices are and how far a Quick Trip is while I'm driving all over the state.
More than fair.
I was like, I could 100% do without social media, and I feel like you're probably going to get a couple of people like, I have to have Instagram. Like, nope. I really wish I could get rid of it, but you know as well as I do, you can't manage pages without a Facebook account, and that's just hell.
That's why I just stay on those pages.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, like, even when you and Swaggle message me to like do something, I don't see it for like a couple hours because if I press Messenger, it takes me to the back end of my page, not that, and then I'll finally flip to me and I'll be like 17 messages. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, dude, it pissed me off because you sent me the message with this link and it came up on my phone, and then I pulled it up on my computer and it didn't load on my computer, so I had to copy it from my phone and email it to myself because the message apparently doesn't sync anymore, and I'm like, what planet do we live on?
Code and all that.
I don't remember the code.
I use a Discord message to myself as my own personal like notes folder.
That's a much smarter idea than me emailing myself, but this is, I'm an old man.
All right, where can everybody find Drown the Lifeguard?
We're on Instagram at Drown the Lifeguard and Facebook Drown the Lifeguard. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, Bandcamp, drownthelifeguard.bandcamp.com. Yeah, we should be recording our 3rd EP hopefully this fall. I got to write the drums for the last song, and then I'm waiting on everyone else to finish their parts, but it's coming. I promise.
All right.
Thanks,
Sounds good.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you for joining me for this chat with Matt Stein. Go give Drown the Lifeguard a listen, and please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and leave a review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you're listening right now. And don't forget, you can submit your own haunted encounters to paranormalunsettled@gmail.com to be read on a future episode or featured in the newsletter. I will see you next time, and remember, listen with the lights on.